A huge round of applause for the makers of the movie. We have with us today the acclaimed director Atul Sabharwal. And we also have for you special appearance by a very beloved Aparshakti Khurana. Atul is a producer, director, scriptwriter, and he has done so much work on this amazing film. But before that, he has worked on great movies like Aurangzeb. He has worked on Shubhi before this, and Aparshakti had his breakout, his big debut with Dangal, and then again also in Jubilee, you were a standout. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so lucky to have you here.
Thank you, Betty, for inviting. Thank you, everywhere. Thank you, Festival, for inviting me. I have to be.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you so much for turning up there. That's important. Thank you.
I'm going to start off with a question that is probably on everyone's mind. Why did you pick the name Berlin for the cafe?
Two things. A, there's a long tradition of something called German bakeries in India. They are disappearing, but how did they come about when there were certain people who were evacuating in Germany and were setting a cafe? There's something called the coffee crisis of the 70s. I don't want to get into history here, and we all have the internet, so we can all search it. But also, if you look at the spy novels of the time, so, Len Dayton has written Berlin Game, and there is Hydra, the Berlin Confidential. So Berlin was the epicenter of all the espionage activities all throughout the Cold War, and there couldn't have been more specific made than that. So that was the other reason.
Which leads me very well to my second question, which is that this is a field piece. You have set it in the Cold War, and a lot of attention to detail has been paid in terms of making it super authentic. But it's also set in that it's not a single set, it's the Not Place, it's Lodi Garden, it's Subdurjan bus stop. So how did you go through making it so authentic? And the telephone that you have to use, how did you work out that?
Most of it is, this is the area I saw growing up, from Sarojini Nagar to Nehru Park to Lodi Garden and all this. So there's something of the visual memory that I had of it. Now, how to recreate it, because the Delhi has changed a lot in the last few decades, and so we had to shoot in 3 different cities. We shot in Bhopal, we shot in Agra, the cities that have not changed that much as the metropolis, and of course we shot in Delhi, like the Connaught Place that you see. So there are 2 hotels in Agra which were built by the same architect who did Connaught Place. So this was one of the hotels in Agra, and we extended it digitally to make it feel like Connaught Place, but the pillars and the cafe and all those things are identical to the way Connaught Place is. And then, of course, you spend money and you create bus stops and everything. So having a budget also is sort of helpful. And that is how I went about creating it. But what I'm most proud of is this is the Delhi you don't see the movies anymore. Yeah. Like you see, when I was growing up, I saw it in Sai Paran's Sparsh and Shekhar Kapoor's Masoom, but which everybody will see at 2:30 today. But yeah, so that was the Delhi, because, we have come to have an impression of Delhi as what Band Baja Barat shows or other such film, which is more power, and we never see it as the seat of power or the socialist housing and all those things. So that's how I went about creating Delhi.
I'm going to start off with a very controversial question. How do you like being in Berlin?
Berlin Cafe, you mean, right? Of course, it's absolutely fantastic. This is my first time here, and absolutely loving it. And I think I had no idea that it's going to snow here. I mean, at the airport, I saw the weather report, and I was like, 9th. Oh, today's 9th, and we are landing. So the moment I landed, in a couple of hours, it was snowing, and that's what I mean. still a warm welcome in that call as well. And I think kudos to your entire team.
We're very happy to have you with you. And the second question is the mic interviewing? Yes. What kind of prep work did you put into this role? Because Sputnik has to work with sign language, but he's also not a person with hearing impairment or speech impairment. So there's a lot of complexity to the character. How much prep did it take, and what kind of work did you put into that?
So, of course, whatever film you do, there is always, days kept for the workshops and the prep. But this was a little different because it's not that, see, when I do a Luka Chupi or a Stree or a Dangal, I'm supposed to pick up a certain dialect of a particular, state or city. But this time around, it was not that I had to. And I've been to all these places, जिनकी मैं बात कर रहा हूँ कानपुर वगैरह की, मैं वहाँ गया हुआ हूँ, so I've seen those places, I've met those people, so I know how to pick up those dialects. But this was very different. It's not something which was a part of our school curriculum. It was not something I had ever witnessed in real life. So this was a little more time consuming. Also, as you mentioned, I think what was even more challenging apart from the sign language was when I'm supposed to say my lines, of course I'm supposed to, sign it out. But when, Ashok is saying his lines, so normally what happens is sign language goes in a little opposite way. अगर कहना है कि मुझे चाय पीनी है, okay, so you'll say चाय पीनी है मैंने. The structure can, can change in every sentence. So I had to listen to what he was saying, see, and then say it in the straight way, not in the way where he was saying. So I think that was a little more difficult, but having said that, I think the kind of chemistry me and Ishwak had on set, it just became so easy. We are also neighbors in real life, so so we kept meeting a lot, and I think the kind of prep you do together, that really helps. If you're prepping separately, without having your co-actor around, it might be difficult, especially for such a role. But because we were pretty much together in it, so it really helped.
Having learned sign language, do you feel like this has opened up a new world for you where you are now able to interact with and empathize with people that you may not have been before? I see that empathy is one of the biggest emotions that runs through the film, where initially Pushkar is trying to be a little bit more reserved, trying to be affectionate, and slowly just gets drawn into his compassion for Ashok.
Talking about that, how sign language does it help me? As much as I hate myself for not kind of using it, but the problem is I don't have people around me to, if I let's say if my, I'm good in Punjabi because I still talk in Punjabi with a lot of people. Atul Sabharwal himself is a Punjabi, so set पे काफी बार ऐसा हो जाता था कि खाना. So that's only because you're in touch with that language. Till then you're not in touch with that language, you don't have people around you to support it. तब तक वो language beyond a point आपके system का part नहीं बन पाती, and you're not able to use it in situations. So hence I hate myself for a lot of other reasons as well, but ये भी like.
Because this movie is set in the Cold War and this particular space of intelligence, I'm sure research was very exciting for this. What kind of work went into that, and what was the most difficult bit for you to research?
I'm just going to put this on record. I have never met an intelligence agent in my life. I never ever come across, and even if I have, they were not going to tell me what work they do. So most of it is common sense, as Ashok says, and imagination and make believe. And in my head, I was making a movie about the movie business, because if you see, Ashok is the director and Pushtin is the editor who's trying to protect his voice, and Sony and being the proverbial studios were trying to fight and distort that vision, because he says at the interval point that who gives you the power to distort somebody else's narrative, So I guess when you work long enough in the motion picture industry, you sort of get an idea of how corrupt the powers could be. And you wish that you were a spy, and all that wishful thinking I applied to this.
On that note, a very standout thing for me was that this desire for Ashok to have some skill set, some ability, something that is beyond his disabilities. He wanted to be recognized for something that was more than that. And it is also something similar that Ashok had. He also wanted to be able to see more of Mushkin had to see more of Ashok than just his disability, go more into the story. So what drove you to include that element of it?
Element of empathy?
Not empathy, the element of wanting to have a skill beyond just the disability and be recognized for something beyond.
Because I think we are all victim of biases. We all are judged by what we have done and not what we are capable of, or what we could do. And also by what the powers that we need us for. So I could be capable of 1,000 things, but I'm needed only for X, Y, Z. For me personally, that emotion was coming from like a very big studio was told me, you should write more for other directors, because tu bahut acha Salim Javed ko samajhta hai. They are very notable directors and all that. So my thing was, F you, and because you are taking something that is useful to you and not as a whole package that I can deliver, because I have a sense of aesthetics, I can direct actors and all that. So it comes from there, where you are judged for what the other person needs you for and what you have done so far.
If I can add to that, I think, it's a very basic human tendency to just जो अपनी convenience के हिसाब से आपको सही लगता है वो work कर लेते हैं काफी बार, है ना? So, kudos to other big thanks to Atul sir and Z Studio, Z5, that they were able to see me doing this. Otherwise, everybody wanted me to do comedy. Not that I hate comedy. I love comedy. I really love comedy. But the other side of my of my craft really wants to show that okay, I can do some serious stuff as well. So I think वो हमेशा एक मलाल रहता है. So उसको आप हमेशा ही कहीं ना कहीं you want to not really prove a point, but yeah, for the lack of a better word, prove a point maybe. I don't know.
Both of you have worked together before, and I read somewhere that you were one of the first people that the script was pitched to. So how is it working with each other?
I hate it. And he hates me more.
I honestly never worked with him in Jubilee. That was more of Vikram directing him. I met him only for 2 readings, and I think that was after I had already pitched Berlin to him. We were supposed to read, so when we met for the reading, we I think he brought it up that we are supposed to pick the Aparshakti. Yeah. So Berlin is the only time that I've worked with him so far, but I will work with him again. Sweet boy.
Sweet boy. When I was prepping for Jubilee and I read the entire material, I was really looking forward to meet the writer because the shoot had not started, so my proper give and take with Vikram was about a month, later. So I was really intrigued to meet Atul sir. I never met him. We had a couple of common friends, but yes, when we met, this was in Juhu, and and yeah, touch wood, since then it has really been, he's really treated me like a kid brother, and I think we really bond over food. There's hardly any restaurant in Mumbai we haven't discussed or now went to, so yeah.
And while I was narrating in the script, he was smoking hookahs. That's not on the record. He's been searching for a hookah place in Berlin since 9.
I have been trying best to not put this on record. It's wrong to have a friend who's a director. But yeah, having said that, I think whenever we were together, it was Really, it was always very, friendly affair. Even right now as well, when we were walking down, he was like,
soft shit. He was
"Gaadi ho jaake tu." So yeah.
Um, I will do one last question and then we can go for audience questions. There's a lot of silence in the movie, and when the sound comes in, it's very impactful because that creates the tension. I was scared when Ashok was looking for those documents, even when there's small movements which are super sound driven in the film. So what was your inspiration for the music behind the film?
It'd be beautiful behind the sound.
For fun.
I think, see, for sound specifically, because it plays in the flashback, my first reference point was Anthony Minghella as the English Patient, because that is the film that uses sound as a memory triggering device, the way Watermark used it. Now, in that film, the sound takes him back in time when he was in the desert with the other woman. Here, when you go back in time, there is no sound. So theoretically it applied, but practically the sound designer had to figure his own way. So we did like draft 1 of premix, draft 2 of premix, and that is how we arrived at, okay, what fits and what we would like it to be, and then it was up to the audience to sort of see it. As for the music, it wasn't that much, except that there was not such brief, except that I told my music director, I'm putting some temp score, you don't have to follow the melody, but don't change the tempo. So because I want this rhythm, because it's going well with the footage, just keep this going. So that was the only thing, and then I sort of let him be what he wanted. That answers.
Thank you. Now we'll go for audience questions. We have only one mic, so please stand up, and then I can.
अंडे वंडे मत फेंक देना यार नहीं मैं बेच नहीं हूँ बट मार मत दे
Should we start from here?
Shall I say it?
Yes, good.
I don't have actually a question for you or for the movie because I read it now the movie, but I really have extra appreciation for you because you brought in sign language in the movie and bringing it at this big stage. I think it's a commendable effort because I don't think so. I have seen sign language on such a big scale except 2000, maybe 30 years ago with hunting. There was a 10 minutes broadcast. And since that, I've never seen it on such a big scale. So hats off to you and kudos to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, talk about let's start. No. Yes, please. Yes, right. Go ahead.
What? Why are you scared?
I was scared. I ran out of the set. यार
मैं ना स्त्री वगैरह करके आया हूँ, डर नहीं लगता है मुझे यार। डेड बॉडी क्या कैसी बात कर रहे हो? कई बार लोग मुझे कहते हैं कि यार तो वेज खाते हो नॉन वेज खाते हो, मैं बंदा खा जाता हूँ यार, कमाल करते हो। मुझे डर नहीं लगता बिल्कुल भी। So yeah, if that answers the question. Thank you so sweet of you, thank you.
How old are you, beta? How old are you? 12.
Thank you for
आपको
setting
डर लगना
rules.
चाहिए हाँ. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, welcome to Berlin, sir. Thank you. Big fan of all the same and also work, sir. Thank you. Is Pushkin going to take revenge also on the Berlin? No, because and that's where I say kudos to Z Studios on this because they did not meddle with this film, whereas it has written on its forehead at every step that this film should be meddled with by the studio. My idea was when they said, they don't win in the end. I said, no, I want to celebrate the losers because they tried. Yeah. They can't, if they win against Sony, that would be something far-fetched. So let's just celebrate what they tried, and they went with it. And they also did not meddle with the sound design or the score, which is sort of becoming a pandemic with the studios in India, or maybe worldwide, I don't know. But But yeah, so thanks to the studio for that. And no, nobody's taking any revenge. Let's just celebrate people who try, irrespective of whether they lose. I did. Yes. Celebrating losing की बात में तो कितने लोगों ने तारीफ की.
Yes, buddy, go for it.
Yeah, so there is a point towards the end where there is an interaction between Ashok and Pushkin with the client. So, interpreting or translate.
Right. So
Was that like a conscious decision? And I can so wouldn't.
yes, that was the other sort of fight or debate I had to have with the studio. I wanted the audience to feel disabled when they are having a private conversation because you don't know sign language, I don't know sign language. These two characters, they know sign language, so you are getting shut out of their private movement. It was a conscious decision not to translate those or subtitle those moments.
I think
Yes, sir. Objections.
Done it.
Okay.
Thanks so much for giving me this opportunity. I don't have any question, but I really want to appreciate the attention to details and the Chekhov's guns that were there, like the lift scene where you are showing the number 3 and it is again trying it up again, and the comic releases, the form of the soap impression, and in the end, it's really good. So yeah, it was really great movie.
Thank you. You can only thank Alfred Hitchcock for all the invitation.
Ma'am, one last question and then I think.
दो ले लो यार ऐसे बटन बटन चुप कर दिया
I have a question.
और ये तीन
Let her. There is a feedback box outside. You can just write it. Chalo, go ahead.
Thank you so much for coming all this way. The movie was great. It was a very great watch. My question to both of you would be, how do you deal with the anxiety of not creating a masala movie? Because this was something that doesn't have any songs. It's not so mainstream, and I can imagine that it must make you feel a little bit anxious because it's not the kind of movie that you directly think that it will work. It's something that you kind of have to test the waters with. So how do you deal with that the day before and while it's actually out?
You said this question is for both of us. He's just done 3-2. Sir, please answer this. I would like to know how you feel.
Just in case you're missing that beat of some entertainment or something, I don't know. Maybe you can just give me a tap on this. कुड़िये नी तेरे बिन मैं नहीं जचदा कुड़िये नी मैं तेरा दीवाना कुड़िये नी तेरे बिन मैं नहीं रहना कुड़िये नी ए चुप्पी ता तोड़ कुड़िये नी आना कानी भी छोड़ कुड़िये नी कुड़िये नी कुड़िये नी कुड़िये. So if you sing the masala this, so maybe we can give that post. But having said that, yeah, you really need to give all sort of stories out. And I think till the time the pure filmmakers are kind of, not making not telling you such fantastic stories, I don't think so. In cinema or any kind of regional or world cinema can move forward. So I think people like Atul sir or Vikramaditya Motwane have really, been the flag bearers of the pure cinema in our country.
One question.
I'm really sorry. I think we have a lot of two lines from one question. Stop. Two lines.
बाहर पक्का सुनाता हूँ. I think they have another.
I'm sorry, we have to set up for the next training. I'm really sorry. Thank you so much, Aparshakti. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Smriti.
I'm sorry, guys. It's a question you will say sorry. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.
If we can take any question in the lobby, let's go.